Welcome back. You are now watching video 7, the continuation of this video presentation titled The Ignorance of White and Black Supremacy Exposed. In my series of video presentations called The Redemption from the Curse of the Black Spell. And again, I must say thanks very much for joining me and for being with me this far into this presentation. If you did not watch, again I must remind you that if you did not watch video 1 to video 6 of this presentation in the order of 1 to 6, I strongly suggest that you please do so first. By so doing, I think you may better appreciate the and possibly understand the content and my reasoning. At the end of the last video 6 to be exact, I made mention of the fact that the English language is holding our minds captive, or to be more precise, the English language is holding our minds, or holding the minds of us Africans captive, and that in order to begin freeing ourselves, we must learn how to decode the master's language. And to further emphasize this fact, I quote a friend and a very wise mystic, the elder and Dr. Francis James Gordon, and again I'll quote him. He said, there is no need for us to invent a new key in order to set ourselves free, for the same key that the enemy uses to lock the door is the same key we must use to open it, unquote. Now, let me now quickly reveal at least 4 of his secrets. Or if you prefer, let me quickly reveal 4 of the slave master's many tricks that are hidden in plain sight and in his language. 4 of his many secrets or tricks that he had forewarned his fellow slave masters, their heirs and successors, not to ever allow to happen. Trick number 1, our first trick is that they should never under any circumstance allow us to know their language. And why? Because as the man Willie Lynch himself said, and I quote, if you take a slave, if you teach him all about your language, he will know all your secrets. I didn't say it. And he is then no longer, he is then no more a slave, for you can't fool him anymore. Language, his secrets. I didn't say it. It just happened to make sense. And the more I'm doing it, is the more sense it's making to me. Second trick is to have us believe that we know their language. And how do they do this? They do this by teaching us a little of their language, so they can understand us, but we can't truly understand them. It's such a wise trick. These guys know what they're doing. The game is a mind game. They know what they're doing. We have to start re-engineer their system, reverse engineer the trick, and get back to where we where they trick us. We have to. There's a lot of work to be done, and it is not. It's not gonna be done by people, many of us that are on our way out. But now that I discover things that I did not know 50 years ago, right? I'm trying to do these videos just to get young people. I'm not I'm not afraid of who want to be offended. That's your problem. Offend mean on the edge. So if the truth tip you off the edge, off end, if you are already on the edge and the truth tip you off, that's your problem. I just interested in youth, young future, to just grasp this and just take this and start realize it and use their minds and get into this and take it to the next level to free the future generation. Most of us are all going to be dead in captivity anyhow. It is the future is for the youth. My hope is for the youth, not for people my age. I keep saying that. And if you don't like it, that's your problem. Second trick is to have us believe that we know the language and how they do this. I think I mentioned that by teaching us a little of the language so that they can understand us but we can't understand them. Third trick is to make us fools by keeping us in total and complete ignorance. And why? Because as the man Willie Lynch himself said, quote, and being a fool is one of the basic ingredients of any incidents to the maintenance of the slavery system, unquote. For your information, the slavery economic system, which I also call the religio-political pyramid twin system, could not exist and cannot continue to exist unless the majority of us, its subjects, its citizens, its conquered people, and slaves are all fools, in ignorance, in blackness, in darkness, completely cut off from the light of truth. That is the only reason why the slavery economic system will continue to exist. In fact, that's the only reason why it has continued to exist to this point and will continue to exist in this reality. And the minority, the very few, the elites, the oligarchies, will continue in Satan's name to rule, ruin, control, and destroy our planet. As long as we continue to remain in ignorance. I honestly think that our mother, our source, Mother Nature, and our source is just urging us, trying to activate those cells, those information that is dormant in us for us to wake up and realize it's about time. Everything always comes to an end. But if we are in ignorance, we won't even know when the table turns so that we can go with the flow. Fourth trick is to have us think and believe and teach our children that slavery and the slavery economic system has been abolished and that we are now free. That's another big trick. A lie. From my perspective, that is the biggest joke of all, if not the biggest mockery of our natural, native, earthly human intelligence. Let us just think about this, which from my perspective is a folly argument, and one that your leaders are so often boasting about and celebrating as if our greatest victory over evil, as if it is our greatest victory over evil, injustice and immorality, etc. The folly argument which states that slavery and the slavery system has been abolished. Just let us examine it for a moment. And let us, with an open mind, give it some critical and unbiased analysis. And let us see if some of your self-proclaimed and system-appointed leaders, revolutionaries and activists, etc., that are jumping from platforms to platforms, pulpit to pulpit, media house to media houses, etc., like empty barrels, making a lot of noise, talking about our freedom and that we are free at last. And see how much sense, if any, it makes to you personally. Assuming that we now know of a fact, both from public record and from practical experience, that Satan's elect and chosen people of the Caucasian race, the alien European Caucasian conquerors, capturers, colonizers, human traffickers, murderers, exploiters, slave masters, brutes and vicious beasts, had left their homeland or their place of abode in Europe under his Satan's inspiration on their exploration, extermination and exploitation conquest and that they traveled thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of miles around the world, pillaging, slaughtering, trafficking, murdering, killing, polluting, subduing, subjugating any and everything and anyone, land, water, humans, animals, or trees that they came across or that stood in their way for the purpose, the sole purpose of establishing their names, their kingdoms and queendoms, their one world government, their God, their gods, their religion, their reign of terror, and their slavery economic system for the benefit of themselves and the preservation thereof through their children, their heirs and successors forever and ever. This we know of a fact, that they did not set up their slavery economic system in order that their heirs and successors or their grandchildren would come after them and destroy it. From my perspective, for anyone to believe or teach otherwise is not wise, to say the least. Then, why do some of us now think that these Satan's elect, their heirs and successors, have repented of their evils? That they have changed their minds? That they have abolished, their ancestors' will, their ancestors' legacy and estate, that they have torn down or that they are tearing down their ancestors' names, laws and statutes, that they, the slave masters, heirs and successors, have now become one with their slaves and the descendants and the slaves and their descendants, and we are now all equal and free, so that we can now, the descendants of the slaves, share equally in the pie, sit equally in their high places, and speak to them man to man, woman to woman, etc. Some of us are even singing with straight face. Thank God Almighty, we are now free at last. We are being duped. But it's not true. We are not free, but only if and when we are able to decode their language will some of us discover this fact. From my perspective, the heirs and successors of the slavery economic system has overlooked, from my perspective, the heirs and successors of the slavery economic system have only tweaked the system. They have just made some minor adjustment to make us a bit more physically comfortable and hopeful while we are being mentally and spiritually hypnotized, existing in a state of hope, or as Bob Marley in one of his songs called Time Will Tell say, and I quote, to think that you are in heaven, but you are living in hell. You're just being in a hypnotic trance. Unquote, rather. You're just being in a hypnotic trance. From my perspective, our source and our mother nature has opened a window of opportunity for us right now and at this moment for us to take advantage of. Therefore, it is incumbent upon us today to use whatever access, freedom, and opportunity that we now have at our disposal to unlearn, educate ourselves, dissect, decipher, crack the code of the English language, and know the masters, their heirs and successors' secrets as much as we can, thereby free our minds in order to chart our own course and our destiny before they find another way to close the window and to again permanently dumb us down, shut us down, lock us in, and enslave us even more. I also ask that you stay tuned to this channel, the right number, for an upcoming presentation that I will call the Charles Darwin's prophecy. You need to know about that prophecy. For example, if you know and understand the slave masters, their heirs and successors language, the system's economic language, and yes, I'm speaking about no other than the English language. If you know it well, then you may begin to understand that our doesn't really mean our or ours, plural, the plural. As the man Willie Lynch rightfully dictates in his, what I call his scientific paper, the word our, according to the English language, is a word that means true ownership and possession. However, in reality, that is only true for the slave masters, their heirs and successors of the slavery economic system, and the owners of the English language. For what the ignorant and unfortunate slaves then, and the ignorant and unfortunate slaves now, today, do not know and understand is that in the slavery economic system, the word our only imply ownership and possession. For slaves cannot own property. As I said before, why would these people do what they did? The ancestors of our current slave masters, British and Europeans, did what they did. I mean, you know the history. Set up their system, right? For slaves to later come and own and have a part here. It don't make sense. I mean, if you're thinking about it, it doesn't make sense. I don't know how else to say it. It just, to me, my brain doesn't think like that. It's not logical, it's not rational, it's not wise. They set up their system to last not for 100 years, not for one generation, but as long as the earth lasts, if possible. So it's a system. Anyway, let me not stray from what I have prepared to present. In fact, to the system, a slave is a property, and a property cannot own property. For example, if you think, my fellow Africans, and others too, if you think that you are the real owner of your children, that you brought into this world and registered them in accordance to the system's legal requirements, then you are either ignorant or you are not wise to think that you are their owners. No. That's why sometimes I use the word child bearer, guardian, parenting, not owners. We really don't own our children. But that's another subject, and some of you know that already, or something to think about. The fact is that in this system, that it is the system that owns most of us and our children as well. The same is true if you think you own almost anything else, be it your house, your car, your businesses, etc. From my perspective, the only thing that the African slaves and the descendants are given the right to own, and it's a right to own, you don't own it, and lay unchallenged legal claim to, and please note I say given the right to own and to lay unchallenged claim to, and not to live and die with, is the word black and all its synonyms, which by now you should know means not anything good. It amazes me to see how many people my brothers and sisters of great minds, because I guess because they are so trained in the system, that are fighting with me over the word black. It's not our word. I haven't used a word here in this presentation. I'm not aware of writing one word here or presenting any word here that doesn't belong to the slave masters. I'm speaking English. I'm not speaking any of my ancestral tongue. It's in me, but I can't activate it and speak it to anyone. I mean, so the word black is not mine. So when I said he gave you can do whatever, you label you, it's still not ours. And I see so many people are claiming it. I heard someone told me on the ear that we should make it good. How can you sanitize something that the man, we can take the man's word and, we need to start thinking. That's why, I spend time to do these things and hope others will just come and help make it even plainer, to help free ourselves and to free our kids, instead of fighting over black. Who would want a word like that to fight over? When the man gives you his dictionary, and there are so many other adjectives in the book that we can use, and we can, if we know the language, we can use it to describe ourselves properly, instead of having him label us and give us the name, and people are fighting me over black. If you're black, you're black. I can't help it, but I'm just trying to enlighten those that are open to search and then research for themselves. So let me get back here. So as I said, black doesn't mean anything good. The fact is that even the word black, really and truly belongs to them, the aliens, the British. So in reality, it is only being loaned to us. In fact, because I have given it back, it is only being loaned to you, that you have accepted it and are embracing it. And as one scribe wrote in an ancient scripture, and I quote, "A borrower is a slave to the lender," unquote. And so I strongly suggest that you give them back the word black and all its synonyms, along with all the interest that you have earned on it. Please give it back to its owners and owe them nothing. From my perspective, the interest earned on black is evil for black. Yield black. Rather, let me read that again. From my perspective, the interest earned on black is evil for black. Yield black. And it is compound interest. I'm sure you get that. So black yield black, evil yield evil. It's compounding interest. Let's give it back. Find another word that best describe who and what you are. So when you, my African brothers and sisters, are saying our, you name it, it doesn't really mean our, period. For example, our, as in our crops in the field, doesn't really mean our crops, but it means the slave masters, their heirs and successors' crops that are in the fields. Our company, as in our place of employment or servitude, doesn't really mean our company, but it is the slave masters, their heirs and successors' company. Our mineral and natural resources that are in or under the earth doesn't really mean our mineral and natural resources, but it is the slave masters, their heirs and successors' minerals and natural resources that are in or under the earth. For if it did and truly mean ours, then how comes the majority of us are so broke, so disenfranchised, so financially bankrupt, destitute, hopeless, and you name the rest? Our God, it doesn't really mean our God. But stay tuned. We will talk more about that another time. Our God. When we say our country, our military, our security force, our police force, if it was our police force, why are we so afraid of them? Why do they cause so much fear? I am the mystic philosopher. I conduct myself because I know the consequences of doing otherwise. So, according to their laws. But whenever I drive, when I drive out my gate, right, I am so alert. The minute I see one of these guys driving behind me or at a stop or going even the opposite direction because of experience, my heart will start go like this, and I am the mystic philosopher because I sense the vibration. But I will talk about that another time. So if they were mine, why would I be feeling like this? It doesn't make sense to me, but that's another subject. So when we say our police force is our security force, for example, if the police force were ours, why are some of us, my fellow African brothers and sisters, are living in fear of them more than we are even living in fear of some of the criminals among us? There are people who prefer don't even talk to these guys while crime are being conducted next door because of, how could they be ours? They're not mine. They are the system and the elites, but not mine. But another time on that. When we say our home, our native land, our house, our children, our businesses, our language, people boast about our English language. You're crazy. Our anything, you name it, you may discover that our does not really or necessarily and really means what you may have thought that it meant and are led to believe it does by the system. You see, we might be unconsciously thinking in our honest, natural, and internal language, but theirs, you might discover, is definitely not the case. As I said before, our natural, as African, as natural native earthly humans, natural native, we are natural people, we are not unnatural people. But all of these things need time to explain, right? We function naturally. It is unnatural for us to lie, to be tricky, to rob, steal. We have to be programmed, conditioned, and deceived into doing these things. That's natural people. And many of the sicknesses that our people are suffering from today is because of what is called the conflict that is going on in their minds in trying to beat the system, in trying to survive, in trying to cheat on their taxes, in trying to do this to survive, because the system program you to be like that. That's not natural. In our natural environment, in our natural habitat, it's not so. It's not the way of our source, which is nature. But the system isn't. Satan is not natural. He's not from here. He's an alien invader. And the people who he chose from here, he programmed them. That's why it's called his chosen people. He programmed them with his philosophy, with his mindset, with its alien mindset, and make them unnatural. But I wish we will talk more about this thing, I hope, or at least you get the basic gist so you can start open up for yourself. Once you get it, you don't need me. Now, this is the end of video 7. So please switch to video 8 or now or at your convenience. And again, join me for the continuation of this presentation titled Ignorance of White and Black Supremacy Exposed. It gets better.